So again, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. Thank you for the introduction as well, Regina. I work at Scaled Agile, so I'm a member of the framework team there, helping to support and evolve the Scaled Agile framework. And today I'm going to be speaking on the topic of Agile product delivery, specifically Agile product delivery at scale. And as part of that, I'm going to focus on the two critical roles of the product owner and the product manager. So maybe the best place to start is, why is Agile product delivery such an important topic? And what we're seeing is that if enterprises really want to thrive in this digital age, they need to be able to deliver innovative products and services faster than the competition. So Agile product delivery becomes a core competency for any organization that's looking to develop and thrive at business agility. And what we're seeing is it really requires two things. It requires a focus on the customer, as well as an ability to execute. And together, these two things ensure that we can create the right solutions for the right customers at the right time. And it's really this balance of customer focus and execution that is supported by the complementary roles of the product manager and the product owner. And that's what we're going to explore a little bit today. Now, when we think about Agile product delivery and how we achieve it, we recognize that there are three dimensions that enterprises need to be successful and develop proficiency in. So the first one we talk about is customer centricity and design thinking. Customer-centric organizations put the customer at the center of every decision they're making, and they use design thinking tools to make sure that the solutions they're developing are desirable, feasible, viable, and sustainable. But then we also need to be able to develop on a cadence and release on demand. Developing on a cadence, delivering value every iteration, every PI, ensuring that we can manage the inherent variability that exists in product development, and then releasing on demand, decoupled from that cadence, so we can provide value to our customers whenever they require it. And then the final dimension, DevOps and the continuous delivery pipeline. We need to build the infrastructure that's going to allow us to successfully deliver that value through the pipeline into the hands of the customer to actually realize the goal of delivering those innovative solutions. Now, achieving all those things isn't easy. And in SAFE, we identify two key product-based roles to help us do this. So we talk about product managers. They tend to focus on the strategy, helping to understand the customer needs, to support longer range and longer term planning. And then we also recognize the need for a product owner, focusing more on tactics and execution, working with the teams to clarify requirements and helping those teams successfully execute the program increments. And what we see is it's through the collaboration of these two roles that we get this balance between customer focus on the one hand and execution on the other hand. And we'll explore that in a few minutes as well. But one question we often get is whether these two sets of responsibilities could actually be managed and fulfilled by a single person. And the other question we often get is, why does SAFE separate these into two roles? And the answer to this question is it's simply a consequence of the scale that many organizations are working at. And let me explain what I mean by that. All solution development really starts with an Agile team. And as everyone on this call knows, Agile teams are cross-functional groups of individuals, typically 5 to 11 people. They can define, they can build, they can test, and they can deliver some kind of increment of value in a short time box. And of course, they're supported by two roles, the Scrum Master acting as an Agile coach for the team, but also the product owner. And here the product owner is working alongside the team to define the work that needs to be done. They're acting as the customer representative for the team to support and answer any questions the team may have. They're ensuring the work of the team is appropriately prioritized. And of course, they're also ensuring that that work is aligned to the broader vision and the roadmap. Now, if the solutions we're building only require one or two of those Agile teams, then potentially we may indeed have a single person fulfilling both the product owner role, as I just described it, and some of the additional product management responsibilities that you see on this slide. And this is a pattern that we've observed working well in these small scale situations. And some of these additional product management responsibilities, things like supporting product marketing activities, helping to enable the sales team and understand the go-to-market approach, reviewing any legal documents, and also being responsible for key financial decisions as just some examples. But of course, most of the organizations using SAFe are typically building much larger solutions. And when we start thinking about solution delivery at scale, we realize that it needs many, many Agile teams to come together to work within a larger team of teams, what we call an Agile release train in SAFe. And each Agile release train, of course, is typically 50 to 125 people. They're long-lived, they're self-organizing, they plan, they commit, they execute together. And this may mean that we have as many as 10 to 12 Agile teams on a single Agile release train. And of course, what's special about the Agile release train is that they're all working towards a common mission. They're aligned through a backlog of features called the program backlog. In other words, they're working together to build a single solution. And it's when we're working at this scale, particularly given the fact that in many times the teams on the Agile release train will be geographically distributed as well, that we recognize the huge benefit in creating an extended product management team. And this extended team includes both product managers, we'll talk about what they do very shortly, and also product owners, dig a bit deeper into their role as well. And by having this extended team, this is going to allow us to really balance the concerns of aligning the entire art to a single vision, mission, set of features in the program backlog. That's the responsibility of the product manager, but also giving us the ability to execute successfully and take the fast, responsive, decentralized decisions that we need within each team. And that's the responsibility of the product owner. Now, one question we often get when we start working at this scale is what is the right number of people in the roles here? And what we've often observed in the field is if we don't have the right number of people in the roles, often bottlenecks will emerge that are really going to limit our velocity. So we need the number of product managers, product owners, and Agile teams to be roughly in the right balance to help us effectively steer the Agile release train to meet its goals. Otherwise, the system's going to slow down. We'll be constantly waiting for answers to questions, for definitions, for clarification, and for the acceptance of the work that we're doing. So if you have a look at the slide here, this is the recommended fan-out model that we've seen work fairly well. And what we've seen work also fairly well in terms of the numbers is that each product manager can support typically up to 4 product owners, each of whom could perhaps support 1 or 2 Agile teams. Of course, in reality, many people have the luxury to be able to dedicate a product owner to each Agile team. And as we increase the number of Agile teams, we therefore want to increase the number of product owners and consequently product managers as well. So that's just a bit of background really in terms of the need to recognize these 2 roles when we start to scale solution delivery. But what I want to do now is dig a little bit deeper and explore how we see the responsibilities of these roles contrasting from one to the other. And keep in mind, these are particularly the responsibilities that we're thinking about when we're working with Agile product delivery at scale. So what I've put on the slide here is I try to categorize the responsibilities of the product owner in SAFe into 4 categories. And if you start in the top left-hand corner, the preparation and participation in PI planning. So as we know, PI planning is this key event within SAFe. Every 10 to 12 weeks, the whole Agile release train, all the teams come together to hear the vision, to get aligned to the work they need to do, and build a plan they can commit to. As an extended member of this product management team, the product owner is going to be heavily involved in the preparation for this event. So helping to make sure that we have refined the program backlog. During the event, the product owner is going to be involved with working with the teams to help them define their stories, providing clarifications to questions they may have, helping them with estimating the work and sequencing it appropriately. And of course, during the event itself, the PO is going to be collaborating with other teams to try and bring together a plan that we feel we can commit to. And of course, the entire Agile team, which includes the product owner, is then going to work together to describe a set of objectives that describe that work over the PI. Then in terms of iteration execution, extensive responsibilities here for the product owner. Maintaining the backlog is one of them. They're primarily responsible for making sure the backlog is built, edited, maintained, and prioritized at all times, alongside thinking about value and dependencies with other teams. Iteration planning, they're going to be communicating the details of the stories to the teams, helping the teams understand, clarify any questions, and helping them to reach and define an iteration plan. And then, of course, throughout the iteration, they're going to be accepting stories, not only making sure the stories meet the acceptance criteria, but also ensuring their quality and their fit for purpose as well. And then finally, as part of iteration execution, they're going to play a very prominent role in the team demos and the team retrospectives, presenting to stakeholders some of the work the team have done and thinking about how they can help the teams to improve their processes. And then, of course, because we're operating at scale, Agile teams are working together to execute and deliver a larger solution. The product owners have a huge role to play within program execution. So during the PI, they're coordinating with other product owners, helping to manage dependencies, helping to negotiate scope, and also taking part in the system demo where all of the teams bring their work together every iteration to show some of the most important work and take feedback from stakeholders as well. And then finally, the inspect and adapt. At the end of the program increment, all the teams are coming together to think about how they can improve their processes. The product owners playing a key role here to really help the teams define opportunities for process improvements to improve the quality, the speed, the value they're delivering to customers. So at scale, we see immediately that the product owner has a huge set of responsibilities. They're working closely not only with their team, but with the other teams as well. And because they're working so closely with the team, often we see people from roles such as business analysts or subject matter experts, those who have the real technical or domain knowledge, fulfilling these roles as well. And then I want to contrast the product manager role. And just in the same way, the responsibilities at scale here are also fairly extensive. So one of the first things the product manager needs to be concerned with is, are we meeting our business goals? All the products and solutions that we develop have to meet the business goals that have been established by the portfolio. And the product manager is primarily responsible for that. So are we creating feasible, sustainable products? Do we have a clear model of how this product delivers value to our customers? Do we understand the cost structure? Is there a clear understanding of the return on investment? Do we understand how we're going to price and market this product when we provide it to our customers? And then in the bottom left, get it built. Product managers are always collaborating with the Agile release train to make sure they're building the required functionality. So this requires the product manager to understand the customer needs, to develop and communicate a vision and roadmap, of course, to prioritize the features in the program backlog, and to get involved with activities such as PI planning in order to communicate those priorities. And of course, just like the product owners, they also play a key role in other events such as the system demos and the inspect and adapt as well.
Just tell more.
And then get it off the shelf in the top right. One thing that we see again and again, a tension that exists, is how do we deliver value as quickly as the customers demand it, while making sure that we work effectively with the internal stakeholders as well. So product managers have to work closely with marketing to make sure that we have in place all the activities we need to successfully market our products. They've got to work with the sales enablement teams to make sure we've clearly defined our go-to-market strategy. They've got to enable any channels that we have for actually distributing these products and services. And of course, they've got to support the partners that we may have as well in understanding how these products and services support the work they do. And then finally, in the bottom right, leveraging support. Product management also have a key role to play to make sure that these new products are supported throughout their life cycle as well. So they're working very closely with the customer experience teams, with internal support teams, with legal and compliance teams to make sure the products meet the necessary requirements and that they're well supported throughout their life cycle. So again, I hope what's coming across clear here is that all of these activities described here on this slide, as well as the ones on the previous slide, are simply too much for one person to deliver themselves. What we need is a product management team where we have clear ownership over the roles and responsibilities that we're playing. So now that we've had a look at these two critical sets of roles, the product owner playing this tactical execution role, the product manager taking this key strategic role, one of the things I wanted to conclude with is just sharing the need for collaborations between these two groups. Because what we've seen effective in organizations who are succeeding with SAFe is they have these two roles collaborating very successfully. And what I wanted to do just to finish is to highlight some of the opportunities for collaborations between these roles and describe what healthy collaboration looks like. So what I've got on the slide here is a summary of all the events that take place within SAFe. In that little circle in the middle, we have the events that the teams are executing every iteration, every 2 weeks. And around the outside, we have the events that the larger Agile release train is executing. And what I've done is highlight 4 of the key events where I see real benefits in emphasizing the importance of good collaboration between product owners and product managers. And I'm just going to step through each of those now. So we talked a little bit about PI planning, and we talked about how the preparation for this event is an important responsibility for both of those roles. But what does good collaboration look like between those two roles? So what I've observed is when they come together to work collaboratively to update the vision and roadmap ahead of this event, you have the product manager driving the possibilities of what the organization wants to achieve. But on the other side, you have the product owner providing some of the realism around the capabilities and the capacity of what the teams can deliver. And by coming together, we create a roadmap and a vision that is both ambitious, but also achievable. Leading up to PI planning, they're collaborating to make sure the wider business and the teams are aligned to this vision and roadmap. So collectively, they're sharing that message across the organization. And as product management start to create the features in the program backlog, the product owners are there asking key clarifying questions, making sure the features have all the necessary detail ahead of when the product owners take it to the teams. And then, of course, once the product owners start taking these features to the teams to socialize them ahead of the event, they're there to clarify any misunderstandings. They're coming back to the product managers with any questions that they might have. And then another key collaboration that we observe here is product owners and product managers coming together to discuss capacity allocation. How much of the available time should we allocate to new business features, which will obviously delight our product managers, but also how much capacity should we allocate to maintaining the technical integrity of our solutions? Something that's very close to the product owners. They want to make sure that we're maintaining the technical integrity, that we're not moving too fast without paying due care and attention to that. So there's a nice, healthy conflict and a discussion that takes place there. And then during PI planning, this collaboration continues. So some of the specific opportunities for collaboration. The POs, of course, are working with the teams to create the plan to deliver the work that is needed. And as they're doing that, challenges and additional work is likely emerging. So the PO is then helping to drive constructive discussions with product management. Where can we negotiate scope? How can we alter some of the key milestones? How can we bring together some of the concerns we have to make sure we create a plan that really maximizes the outcomes across the entire Agile release train? And it's really this healthy tension that helps us not only progress and deliver on a strategy, but also build a plan that can be executed successfully. And if you don't have these two roles as separate individuals, you lose the opportunity to build and create this healthy tension. And one of the things we often see is if we want to do this effectively, either side needs to appreciate the point of view of the other side. So product management need to listen to what the product owners are saying when they raise challenges, but product owners also need to be open to challenging the teams to be ambitious, to think about how they can stretch themselves to deliver the needs of the customer. And then, of course, we come out of PI planning with a plan, but it's one thing creating a plan, it's another thing executing it. And as we start executing the plan, we know things are going to arise that we couldn't have foreseen. And what we see in terms of Agile release trains which can execute successfully is this collaboration between the product manager and the product owner continues throughout the PI itself. And one of the events where we drive this collaboration is called the PoSync, the product owner sync. Typically takes place once a week, 30 to 60 minutes long. And this is where the collaboration is taking place to understand how we might need to change the plan that we're delivering. So for example, if the data is telling us that we're not on track to deliver our objectives, the PMs need to be open to adjusting the scope, adjusting their expectations and the expectations of the business. But on the other hand, if the feedback is telling us that we're building the wrong thing, the product owners may need to go back to the team and steer them in a different direction, regardless of the work that has taken place so far. So again, this event is surfacing those critical conversations and helping to drive that collaboration between these two key roles. And then the final event that I want to mention is the system demo. And as you may know, the system demo is a special demo that we do every iteration, so every 2 weeks, where we bring together the work across all the teams in an integrated fashion to really show the progress we're making. And it's a critical event for everyone, but specifically critical for the product owners and product managers, since this is how they're going to assess the current state of the solution, but also how they're going to gather feedback from their stakeholders and customers. And it's also a great event for ensuring the product owners and product managers are aligned, because together they're going to facilitate this. So ahead of running this event, what does good collaboration look like? They're coming together, they're agreeing on the features that they're going to show, they're going to discuss which areas they may want to get feedback on, they're going to reinforce the importance of the work they're doing and how it aligns to delivering the strategy. But then also importantly, as they start to run the event, they're going to decide together, how do we action the feedback that we're getting? Is it longer term feedback that the product manager needs to action in terms of adjustments to the roadmap and vision? Or is it shorter term feedback that the product owners need to action in terms of steering the team in a slightly different direction? And again, there's data coming out of this that really drives the opportunity for the product owners and product managers to get together to collaborate and discuss how best we can meet the needs of the customers. So I just want to say a few things in conclusion and sum up a few success patterns that we've seen. So hopefully at this point, you've seen that at scale, there really is a need for these two roles. They both have extensive responsibilities that are overlapping but different, and they have this strong need to collaborate, and there's opportunities to do that. But there's some good patterns that really describe what successful collaboration looks like. So the first one is alignment. We need these roles to be aligned on strategy and execution. This doesn't mean that they have to always agree, and privately there may be some healthy conflict and tension, we've talked about that, but they need to arrive at a position where they can communicate an aligned message to the wider organization. We also need them to have real openness and transparency between them. So as challenges emerge in the teams, we want the product owner to feel they can take those to the product manager as soon as they arrives. And if the product manager discovers that actually the customers are telling us we're on the wrong track and we need to pivot the teams, they should equally be transparent in that information as well. And of course, this is supported by regular communication. We've seen the PoSync as a good opportunity for this, but we also want the product managers and product owners to form a tight-knit group where there's dialogue going backwards and forwards constantly throughout the PI. We also need to make sure that there's clear authority around their areas of content that they manage. So the product owner is responsible for the team backlog. They're the ones responsible for guiding the teams to develop iteration goals every 2 weeks, helping to define their objectives that describe the work across the PI. The product manager, on the other hand, has responsibility for the program backlog. So we need to make these responsibilities clear. We need to give each product authority the time and space to make decisions in their particular domains. And this clear understanding of where their authority lies is going to help us with decentralized decision-making. We don't want every decision the product owner makes to have to come back up to the product manager for a yes or a no. We want to be able to decentralize as much as possible so they can be taking the frequent decisions that the team need on a day-to-day basis. The infrequent decisions that are taken on a less often basis are the ones that the product manager, of course, may be taking, the ones that have a slightly larger impact. And then finally, just the final bullet point on here, working together, both of these roles need to help us with this joint commitment to customer centricity. Everything they need to do, they need to talk about with the customer in mind. They need to help the teams and the art think about how their decisions are impacting the value that's being delivered to those customers. So in conclusion, before I hand it back to Regina, at scale, Agile product delivery is complex. It contains numerous different responsibilities and things that we need to look over, responsibilities which are simply too much for one person. Instead, what we need is to create this effective product management team where the product owner can gain proficiency and excellence in their role, and the product manager can do the same. And it's really the healthy and ongoing collaboration between these two roles that is going to be the cornerstone to success as the organization looks to improve its agile product delivery competencies. So looking forward to taking some questions later, and I'm going to hand it back to Regina now